This is the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time! Presenting the champion of the world, Wham Bam Bam'S.
Yo, what's up, baby? And it's Wham Bam Wednesdays, and we're here again for another Wham Bam podcast. And let me tell you what, today is going to be epic. And remember, this is a show about ordinary people. They're doing extraordinary things. And you know what? All we ask, keep in mind, the show is free, but it's very important that people like you click that subscribe button down below and make sure you look at the little bell alert. So you can click on that so you get all the alerts for all of our upcoming shows and stuff, because you don't want to miss anything. We're only doing one show a week. And let me tell you what, we got a lineup for you. And today we got something special. We got a female lady that's in the house. And let me tell you a little bit about her, okay? Because you're not going to believe all this stuff. So you know what? I might be reading a little bit here because this list goes on and on and on. But guess what? She was Miss Georgia. That's right, Miss Georgia. She was Miss U.S. Continental. She was on the team for the USA for both track and football. That's right. You heard me right. We're talking women's professional full contact football. We're going to talk about it. She got a gold medal for that as well. She's an author. She's done several books. She's currently an athletic director where she has won multiple years of the reigning Georgia Director of the Year throughout the state of Georgia. She's a sports referee. She was the wife of an NFL superstar. You may know him, Kaye Mitchell. Okay, he's got a Super Bowl, win with him and a ring for him. And she's also currently now a mom of a new NFL star as well, who also just recently joined the Baltimore Ravens. So we're going to talk about all that. She's a breast cancer survivor. And of course, she's also had a heart attack too that she survived too. So we're going to talk about all this stuff, man. And it's super excited. And I think she's coming in right now. There she is. How are you, kid?
Coach B?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Just so happy to be here with you.
Man, I can't thank you for taking out the time. I know you're super busy. I mean, man, I think I need another 10 minutes to tell everything about you and stuff. But, I'm really happy that you're here today and excited to let the listeners know about some of your journeys and the things that you've done and stuff. So thank you. Thank you, first of all, for being here, part of this.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. So, let's get started, man. Let's start right away. Tell all the listeners stuff exactly where you came from. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
Born and raised in Atlanta. A few people left around the state of Georgia that are actually from Georgia. So I was born and raised in Atlanta, specifically Southwest Atlanta.
That don't happen too often now.
I know it does not. It does not. A lot of people know us as Grady babies, but I was a Crawford Long baby.
Georgia Peach.
Yes, Georgia Peach. Grew up in a family of sports fanatics, athletes, educators. That's just been my way of life. Growing up, I was the only girl right in the middle of two very supportive and mean brothers, that kind of roughed me up.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's where the athleticism probably, came. So they're probably a reason for why you are the way you are when it comes to sports.
Hey, that's where it all started.
And competing.
That's where it all started. We competed in the backyard, at the park around the corner, in the front yard, wherever we could get it in. And I was that girl that was on the team with the boys in the neighborhood. Yes.
Now, you don't look like that average girl, to be on that team. I mean, you were Miss Georgia, you know what I'm saying? So how did that go in effect when people were looking at you and stuff?
Yeah, candidly, it took me a while to get to this place. I don't want to use the phrase ugly duckling, but, I didn't embrace my femininity or, just beauty in itself. I grew up like just a rough tomboy, and I hated skirts. I didn't want any part of a dress or lace or nothing like that. Nothing pink. I wanted a jersey. I wanted some shorts, a muscle shirt. That was me right there. Just hanging with the boys. And as I got older, I started to, embrace what it meant to get your hair done or get your nails done or, liking myself in a dress and getting my toes done. But it was a process. It was.
So tell me where mom and dad fit in with all this. Did they like you being a tomboy or were they trying to make you girly?
My mom was more on the girly side. My dad was like, I'll take what I can get. They tell a story. My dad tells a story all the time. When I was born, back then people didn't find out, that there were no gender reveals or anything like that. You found out the day the kid was born.
Right.
So, but my dad thought it was going to be a boy. My parents thought it was going to be a boy. And so the day that I was born, my dad said, it's like, it's a girl. And he's like, oh, shoot. What am I to do with a girl? And so I think he just raised me the way he felt comfortable, and that involved sports and dirt and cars and all of that good stuff. And so, so I, with the balance of my mom keeping me in ballet and, getting my hair done every Sunday afternoon. And even though I sweated out by Tuesday, but between the both of them, I guess that just kind of created who I am today. A very unique balance of girly girl and sporty girl.
Right. Well, the American dream, right? You can do both, be on both ends.
You can do both.
So, what, obviously, take it in. Let's talk a little bit about the journey. How did you become Miss Georgia? Like, how did that all come about? Is this something you always wanted to do, or was this an accident? I mean, what got you to, join a pageant where then you could be nominated and eventually win?
Yeah, so I really kind of fell into it. And I will say, growing up, that's something that I always loved to sit down and watch with my mom. We watched the Miss America pageants or the Miss USA pageants, and I never imagined myself being in something like that. But I would look at the ladies and I'd be like, man, they're so beautiful and this and that. And I didn't find pageantry until I was an adult. And interestingly enough, it was during a time when I think I was already married. And there was a friend of mine who participated in a pageant in Florida. And someone thought that I was her. And I was like, no, that's not me, but I know her, whatever. She was another NFL wife. And this lady, she's just like, well, have you ever done pageants? So she introduced me to it, the U.S. Continental Circuit. And we talked about an opportunity for me representing the state of Georgia and joining the pageant circuit. And I was just like, okay, I'm open to this. It was very new for me. And so I was able to be titled Mrs. Georgia, which would take me on to the national pageant. And interestingly enough, when I went in with no expectations, I just really wanted to try something different.
Sure.
And when I tell you this was totally different, and as a matter of fact, it was a hiatus between an injury that I had in football. So it's literally like hanging up my cleats and going to put on a crown.
Wow, we're gonna talk about that. We got to break that down for a minute there. So hanging up the cleats and then putting on the dress and going out there and competing that way.
Yeah, it was totally different for me. It was new for me, but I embraced it, and I was fresh on the scene. And I think that was something that the judges liked about me. They said it was very refreshing. I was very raw. I had not been coached. As a matter of fact, I went online and purchased some books and 1,001 questions that you get in a pageant. And I studied those questions. And
so you did a little homework. You were prepared. Okay.
Did a little homework.
Which is important.
Went a little dress shopping. I had this lady. She was like, you don't have a coach? I was like, no. So she took me through the process of finding a color that would work for me.
What color did you wear?
So for because we didn't do the bikini or anything, but for that little, I think it was a fitness wear, I wore blue. She said blue was my color.
Okay.
But my gown was black, and my gown was black, and it was sparkly, and it was flowy, and it just fit me perfect. So it just turned out to be a great thing. I went to the pageant and, made some great friends. I went to ball games. It was everything you see on TV.
Yeah.
The ladies out with the sash on and the crown on, and, kids wanting the autograph, and, we went through practice.
I think we got a picture of one we're going to show right up here. We're going to flip it up here for them. But talk about that real quick. What was that like? Because you're being a tomboy and stuff. That was not something that you really grew up saying, hey, I think I want to be Miss Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this was totally different for me, and that was the first time that I had ever worn weave in my hair and, just full makeup. It was just something different, but I embraced the whole experience. I took in advice, and everybody just they were just so nice to me. Oh, she's new. Let's show her how to do this. Let's show her how to walk, and, this and that. And next thing you know, Coach, I won that thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe
You
it.
couldn't believe it. Well, what was that like? I mean, were you surprised when they called your name?
I was so surprised.
Were you like looking around?
Actually, I'm looking around and
for
I'm
the
thinking,
winner.
yeah, I'm like, oh, she'll probably win. I'm looking off to my left. I'm like, oh, she'll probably win. And when they called, they said, Mrs. Georgia, Candace Mitchell. And I'm thinking, wait, that's me.
That's you. You won.
I couldn't believe it.
I did it.
And then they started playing the music like dreams do come true. It was just like something you see on TV. And I'll tell you something funny. I was in the elevator after the pageant, and there was a judge in there. And he said, you had no idea you were going to win, did you? And I said, no, absolutely not. And he said, we just thought you were so refreshing. You were raw. And he said, and you were authentic. You had not been coached, and we loved it. We chose you unanimously.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, listeners. If you're a little girl out there and you want to go ahead and join a pageant, be raw. Don't worry about getting a coach. Just be who you are.
Yeah.
And if you're a tomboy, you can still do it. You can still wear that dress and do it.
Yes.
Now, you mentioned there that you hung up your cleats. Now, I know you were an athlete growing up and stuff, and I understand you were on 2 Olympic teams. I believe you're Team USA for both track and then again football. But let's talk about track real quick.
Okay.
First of all, what was your love? Like, what sport was your love?
Interestingly enough, I really loved basketball.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
I did. But, when I was coming up, there wasn't a WNBA. And I knew that I wanted to go to school and run track. And I thought that I thought that I would have a good shot of making the Olympic teams through track. So I said, well, let me go to college in track. I'll stick with track. But I liked team sport. You know, track is very individual. It was something that I had been doing since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Literally losing every race. When I say losing, I mean like last place. Like I lost every race until maybe I was about 10.
What event did you run?
I started out running the mile. So, we hear now more the 1600 or the 1500, but it was the mile back then. And
what's your best mile?
Oh, I do not remember.
Oh.
I really don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but I ran the mile, and then I think I was around 11 or 12 years old, and we were going to like a state meet, and my dad was telling me that one young lady wasn't going to be able to compete in the 400, and he asked me if I wanted to run the 400. And I was thinking, 400? That's 1 lap. Mind you, I've been running 4 laps for years.
That's 25% of what you've been doing.
I said, man, you want me to do 1 lap? That's all I have to do? Coach B, I set a state record.
All right, there we go.
I set a state record in the 400. I think I was 11 or 12 years old, and it was, it was history from that point on. That became my race. And then every now and then my dad would still make sure that I ran the mile or the 800 just to kind of keep that endurance under my belt. But the 400 was quickly my race. And that's how I ended up making, it was a U.S. junior national team. It was, I think it was around 1986. And there was a meet in, I don't know, up northeast somewhere. My mom went with me. I had no idea what the meet was because I'm used to just, going, oh, you have a meet this weekend. Okay, where are we going? I mean, that's just kind of how I thought of it. It just became a part of life. Okay, where am I running this weekend? So I knew we were flying off to running a meet somewhere northeast. I really don't remember, but I remember during the meet walking around, I would see people every now and then with USA stuff. And I kept saying, where are they getting this stuff? What is this stuff?
Mom and Dad didn't want you to know.
They didn't tell me.
They didn't want you to know and put the pressure on you.
Well, this is the trials to make the team, and they're giving us the stuff today. I'm like, what? So that was the meet that I qualified for the U.S. Junior National Team. That year we competed in the Junior Pan Am Games in Orlando. We went to a dual meet in Bucharest, Romania. We competed in the World Games in Athens, Greece.
Wow, what an experience.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal experience to be the youngest person on the team at that time, competing with some of the best in the world, and just getting that experience of traveling the world and being on your own, and seeing what it's like to compete at the highest level.
Was it intimidating for you? I mean, What was your training like and stuff, around these people?
Yeah, actually it wasn't.
Or was it just natural for you?
It was very natural for me. It was very easy for me.
I'm so angry at you for that. I'm so angry.
Don't be angry at me. Yeah, it was.
No, I'm just saying.
It was what I liked, that everybody there was good. Everybody there was good. And so you were competing with the best. You were training with the best, eating, sleeping, everything, with the best in the world at that time. And so you got to see how, we all shared being in our zones, and I wasn't the only one warming up an hour before the race. Typically that's what I was used to. People be like, why is she warming up so early? Or why is she going through all of this? But to be around young athletes that were close to my age, they were older than me, but it was close enough. And to see, this is why I was so good at what I did, to see other people doing that too. And they were excelling, in the same thing, taking care of their bodies, eating good, getting good rest, not being crazy, your behavior as well.
Yeah.
You were a reflection.
Well, you're representing the USA. I mean,
Absolutely.
you're representing not just yourself, not just one area, not just one, but you're the whole country.
The whole country.
Yeah. So all eyes are on you and stuff.
All eyes were on you. We were out there, and people gave us, the coaches and the staff were very nice. They treated us well. They treated us as if they knew we were there for a job, and they gave us autonomy to make good decisions. And if we did not make the right decisions, they were there to correct us. So it was a great experience. And I think that was the beginning of the foundation, for who I am today. I learned a lot, about, that was the first time I'd ever heard of sports psychology. We had a sports psychologist there traveling with us.
Wow.
And that guy was actually the reason why I majored in psychology in college.
Oh, yeah. I always wondered that, with the American level, obviously those types of things, what the training's like, if they have mentors and stuff, people they actually kind of coach you, talk to you, teach you how to act, what to say, what to do, how to train, what to eat. And if they have all that, the people out there, I'm sure really want to know, curious, what is that like on the back end?
Yeah. So, they had the experts there, the nutritionists, the psychologists, and we had opportunities to just get together and talk, if you weren't having a good day, because they knew how much that mental, and you used to talk about this all the time. Me playing under you talked about how much that mental part played a role in your actual performance. And so they wanted to make sure that everybody was in a good place mentally so that you could reach your maximum potential in performance. And so, I learned a lot on that trip, from some of the experts that they brought in through the national teams, as far as eating right, making sure my mind was
How
right.
important was that?
It was so important. And that's something that I carried with me, that I still carry with me, to this day.
That's great.
Something that I try to teach my kids. And, you want to spread the word. And even when I was with USA Football, I understood that's something that I wanted them to bring to our national teams. Why can't we have a nutritionist? Why can't we have a psychologist, on our national teams? And so, they work towards things like that, because elite athletes deserve that.
Right.
And now that's the norm that you see on the college level and the professional level.
Sure. Well, you know what? Things have changed obviously over the years and stuff, and not just from, the way coaching is, but the technology and stuff that's there, the equipment, everything,
Yes.
What people have, like you said, nutritionists. There's doctors galore, and they break, things down from every body part and stuff that's out there.
Absolutely.
So, there's a ton of stuff out there, but not everybody believes in it. Not everybody realizes how important it is. And I try to tell young athletes, we had a episode several weeks ago with a 4-star athlete, he's young, spoke very, very well. But the, reality was explaining to him how important healing and recovery is just as important as playing and practicing.
Absolutely.
Especially at a younger age, because the longevity of your life and career depends on that, which we're going to talk to a little bit later, because you went through that having a, married to an NFL superstar and having a son as well in the NFL. So we're going to discuss that a little bit later. So you know what, you're running track USA. Now you mentioned football.
Yeah.
We got to talk about this football, because I was fortunate. I have a little bit idea of what you're talking about, but go ahead and tell the viewers, did you really play full contact football?
I really played full contact football.
Now, first I'm going to ask you, what made you want to do that?
just like we talked about early in my life, me playing football in the backyard with my brothers and, kids in the neighborhood, that's something that I really love. Just that whole team sport thing. Track was my thing. That was my avenue. But I really did enjoy team sport, and I really loved football. But when I was growing up, that wasn't an option for young girls. And I don't think that I was even mentally capable of imagining that maybe I could have an opportunity to do this. I just kind of went with what the rules were. Girls don't play football. You don't ask no questions.
Right.
But I knew, man, if I had an opportunity to play on my brother's team, I think I'd really be good. Like, I felt like I could truly do it if given the opportunity.
Well, we know the answer now. We know that you're good. So.
Yeah, so I always wanted to play. But I did not even know that it was an option until I became an adult. And at the time, my ex-husband was with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And David Garrard, who was the quarterback at the time, his wife Mary and I were pretty cool because she was a sporty girl like me. We didn't go to the game in furs and diamonds. I mean, we showed up in our jeans and our high tops and our hats to the back, whatever it was. But we were very... all my stuff's coming off.
There you go. You got excited, fired up. We can talk about football. You get fired up. I like it.
So we had a lot in common in the fact that we enjoyed sport and we enjoyed being comfortable, going to watch our husbands play football. And she talked about she was going to try out for this women's football team in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Dixie Blue.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, yeah, it's like the real football team, And I said, girl, I'm going to try out with you. I'm going to try out with you. But lo and behold, my husband got cut. He got cut. He was released. And so I decided to come home to Atlanta, but I was still intrigued. I was like, there's gotta be a team in Atlanta. And so I was researching, and lo and behold, I came across the Atlanta Explosion.
The Atlanta Explosion. And that's XPLOSION. That's right.
Yes. And so the Atlanta Explosion, we're having tryouts like just in a couple weeks. And so I said, I'm going to try out for this team. And that's what I did. And it's been, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I remember it. So for the viewers that don't know, I'm actually the founder and the starter of the Atlanta Explosion. Yes, women's professional football was right here in Atlanta. And, my ex-wife there, she wanted to play football. She wanted to be on the field. And we did the research, found out there wasn't a team. I couldn't believe that women wanted to play football. And when we had the trial, we opened up the franchise, and to see 80 to 90 women come out there to, try out. And we had Georgia track stars, Georgia stars, people we had all types of shapes, forms, job people. We had doctors, we had officers, we had stay-at-home moms. We had all different types of women that were out there, wanting to play the game, and I was amazed.
Yeah.
And, being that I obviously played the game for many years and coached it as well, and having the opportunity to coach women, I will tell this to the listeners. It was refreshing for me as a coach as well, having to be able to teach women who really didn't have any bad habits yet, and they actually wanted to be there. So, coaching women they were sponges. You ladies took it on, and, you always wanted more. What's next? And, obviously, that grew. There are teams in IWFL, International Women's Football League, which throughout the United States, there's New York teams, there's Chicago's teams, there's Detroit, there's Cali, LA. I mean, we played them all. And we got a championship, too.
Yes,
we shocked the world. But, being that, in the football stuff, obviously your body starts wearing a little bit. You're starting to take blows. You're starting to take hits. And let me tell you what, these ladies, if you don't want to know, we're going to show some clips of this, but these girls can hit. Okay. They're coming at you and stuff.
It's the real deal.
And I'll never forget, we practiced down at Clark University down in Atlanta. And I remember the girls were all suited up and stuff. And I can't tell you the amount of people that would come over to me and say, hey, how do I try out for this team? And I'm like, sorry, but you're the wrong gender. You know what I mean? These were guys that were coming up because they didn't even know. And then, of course, when the helmets came off and they see them beautiful, hey, we got Miss Georgia on the team. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful ladies and stuff. They're out there, getting it. it was amazing. It really, really was. So it was a fun thing to get started and stuff. And, obviously they're still playing and going on, but,
Oh yeah.
Playing football, now you're getting a taste of it.
Yeah.
Big linebacker, and stuff. You enjoyed hitting. You're on that defensive side.
Oh yeah.
And stuff.
Dark side.
So, but the reality is, now you're in a team sport again. Mm-hmm. You're competing. You're not really getting paid. You're doing it for the love of the game. The game is just starting to learn and stuff. But your body's going through a lot of hurt, a lot of aches, a lot of pains too. How do you balance all that and stuff?
Yeah, it's tough, and like you mentioned, for women, we were out there paying to play, to do something that we loved, and we were stay-at-home moms, and a lot of us had full-time jobs. We came from all different walks of life, so we had to balance real world, doing whatever we need to do at home for our families, and then showing up for practice. Whereas for men, they have an opportunity to do this full time and get paid for it, and they can just dedicate everything to whatever it takes to be healthy to get on that field. But we've got to balance real life, families, full-time jobs, and then still going out there being able to perform, taking care of our bodies, taking the hits, and then being having to explain, to our job what happened to us over the weekend,
right.
Or our kids looking at us like, what's wrong with you, mom? For me, I don't know if you remember that it was my first year that I tore my my knee, my right patella tendon.
Yep.
And, and I've had so many more injuries after that. And people say, well, why do you continue to do it? And it's just so hard to explain. This becomes more than just the love of the game. That's the thing that gets us there. That's that main glue that holds us together. But this is so much bigger than football itself. My closest friends today are women that I met 20 years ago out there on the field with you. And, that's what it is. It's an extended family. Yeah. A lot of us are closer to football family than we are some of our own families.
That's right.
We're there through good times, bad times. We've been there. We watched each other get married, get divorced, have kids. We've had to bury some of our sisters. We had to watch some of us bury our sisters' children. We've been through so much together, and it's football that brought us together in the beginning. Yeah. But it's that football and that family that's going to keep us together, till the end, till our last.
I think it was an outlet. It's one of those outlets that you have that you can go there together. And you know what? When you step on that field and you cross that line, as I always said, you're not a mom, you're not a coworker, you're not an athletic director, you're not a cop, you're not a college kid. You're a football player.
You're a football player.
And you know what? Leave everything else behind you.
Right.
Leave everything on the sideline, and you become a football player. And that's where you can just shut everything else off.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use that for an outlet, and I know we transformed a lot of people throughout the years because football did give them that brotherhood, that sisterhood, type of feel and a new family. Football, and some people didn't even have family.
Yeah.
So.
That was their family. That was, like you said, their outlet. And it was the football that helped save people's lives, or to get them back on track, or to give them something, to live for. I really loved it, and I still do, to this day.
Okay, so this is the time where we want to thank our listeners. We want to thank you, number one, for subscribing and being here. Without you, we couldn't have these shows. And we also want to thank our sponsor. And our major sponsor for today's episode of Wham Bam's Podcast is Cost Plus Processing. They are the leader in merchant processing. If you're a business owner and you're still paying credit card fees, call Cost Plus Processing and ask them about $0 processing. You can call them at 1-855-391-9190. That's 1-855-391-9190. Call them and find out why they are the future of merchant processing. So let's get back to the show here. We're here with Kaye Mitchell. We got one of the greatest athletic women that I know that has done so many different things and stuff. We talked about your experience with football and stuff. But the one thing I do want to touch about that we didn't discuss, you do got a gold medal playing football.
Yes.
You were on Team USA and got a gold medal. So you did come back from your knee injury. And you didn't want to give it up, and you went out there, and lo and behold, you made the team and got a gold medal out of it. So what was that like?
Oh man, that was probably one of the most exciting experiences in my life. It was something that I always wanted to do, but I just didn't think that I was to that point or to that level, or was given recognition to even make a team like that. But in the back of my mind, that was one of my goals. But I was also one of the older players by this time, by the time it was becoming a reality. And so but it was something that I wanted to continue to work at, because I knew 2017, this might be my last opportunity to try to make this team. So I wanted to make sure that I was close to USA football and what they were doing as far as educating and preparing women to learn more about the game and perhaps earn an opportunity to represent their country. And so I would go to Women's World Games and just try to learn more about the game, get some on the field experience with other women from around the country and around the world, because at those World Games we got to suit up with women from around the world that were trying to learn more about American football. And so when tryouts came about, I was just like, hey, this is my shot. This is my shot. Nobody knows me. They were going to judge me for what I did out on the field during tryouts. And so it was my one time to go out there and give it my all. And so, I took all the years before me, all the coaches, that I trained under, to bring all of that on the field during that weekend to try to make that team. And actually, I made the roster as an alternate. And I was happy, but I always felt like, you got to be ready when you're winning if your number's called.
That's right.
And so, you never know what was going to happen. So I stayed, even though because of that year, I'd actually stopped playing football. And so I was just kind of preparing just in case I got that call. So I wasn't competing, but I had to just keep working out and keep practicing, trying to stay in shape. And so, as time was passing, I'm just like, oh man, no, they hadn't called me up yet, and it was very interesting because it got very close. I started to see during this, the day of social media, everybody's posting, oh, my package came. So, they were showing their bags, their USA bag, their uniforms. I'm just like, oh man, these ladies are about to go out of town. And, I hadn't been called up, so maybe this is it for me. But I had been working out every day just in case I'd get that call. And one particular day I was leaving work and I didn't feel like working out. I was just like, man, this is it. They're not going to call me, so I got in my car and then, I said, you know what? I've been working out every day. There's no need to quit now. They aren't gone yet. I could still get a call. I turned my car around to go back to the field to work out. And as I was pulling in the gate, I got a call from USA Football.
Go home.
And they said, can you be ready to leave in a week? Absolutely.
There you go. And the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
So
yes.
That's awesome. So you know what? There you go. There's a good lesson out there to be learned if you're listening. Always stay ready. If you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. You know what I'm saying? Stuff. So that's a good thing. Now, I got to admit, though, Candace, you had to have a little bit more pressure on you. Being that you were married to an NFL superstar, okay, being that wife, and here she is out playing football, too. Did that kind of put a little pressure on you and stuff, knowing that, hey, my husband plays the game and he does it really well? In fact, he won a Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens, right? And stuff. So what was that like?
Well, at that time, we were actually already divorced by the time that I made the team. But, people still knew, Candace Mitchell's husband, played football, and so a little bit I kind of felt pressure of being good or, but at the same time, I was able to separate the two, and me playing linebacker was actually one of the main reasons that I wanted to do something different than what he did. I didn't want to play safety. I'm like, I'd rather hit than be hit. And I was a big fan of Ray Lewis and, but I knew I wanted to play defense and I said, you know what, I want to play linebacker. And I felt like he could still, give me advice and this and that. And, I was around the game long enough to be able to reach out to my resources, to get to get some help if I need it. But it wasn't too much pressure. For me, it was probably more pressure that I put on myself than anything or anybody else.
Right. Well, you know what? Let's trickle this down, because now you have children.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously, you know, you're a great mom and everything, but now you have a son that's, you know, went through college, and all of a sudden, boom, he you know, he got a little fame over there running the ball and doing some great things in high school, and then over to college, and now he's over at Baltimore.
I cannot believe it.
And that's where Daddy started.
I know.
Isn't that crazy? What a great story. What a great story that is, though.
Yeah.
What is that like? Now you have your son. Your husband went off and did it. Now your son is right there. It's kind of like the circle of life, right? How does that feel?
Absolute circle of life. I'm so excited for my son. I don't even know what to do. And at the same
Big shout out to Kaye Mitchell, by the way. We're all watching you out there. So
shout out Kiki.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm just really excited for him. You know, I can only imagine how he feels, and I think about, you know, that's my baby. You know, our kids are always our babies, no matter how old they get. And then I think, man, you know, I was his age when his dad was going through this, you know. But gosh, it's
how different is it now? So you know what, you did get to experience it back then when, you know, Anthony was there and stuff. But you know, now all of a sudden, many years later, now your baby's, you know, going through it now. What's the difference? What was it different like? Like even you know him going there for the first time. I mean, what was it like? What was the experience?
Yeah, so, you know, if you want to go back to his dad, I remember his dad was at our house, at my parents' house. We were all at my parents' house on that second draft day. And he was sitting by the phone, and, you know, teams were calling, we're about to pick you up, we're about to pick you up, you know. And so he's just waiting. But then nobody would, you know, they say we're about to pick you up, but then they call somebody else's name. And so right at the very last pick on the last day, like somebody called and said, we're not going to pick you up, draft it, but we're about to pick you up, we're going to bring you in. So that's what he went through. And interestingly enough, it was like deja vu. That is what my son went through.
Right.
Now, my son knew that he did not want to have, you know, like people have the parties nowadays, and you know, the families gathered, and Keaton didn't want to do that. No. He said, I don't want a party. I don't want a celebration. I just kind of want to be by myself. And, you know, so we had to respect that.
Sure.
And so he was actually at his dad's house, and he flown in his girlfriend, who is actually from Baltimore.
Okay.
Beautiful lady, young lady, Rachel, plays soccer at East Carolina. She was there, and so I was at my house, but of course I'm watching a draft, and I'm kind of, you know, we kind of knew teams that were interested. So of course, you know, when it was that pick, we're listening in, you know, and so once again, second day of the draft, you know, it's rolling, and I'm thinking, okay, there are probably only these 3 teams left that will probably pick him up, you know. And so when that last team that we thought was going to be a team that would pick him up did not call his name, my stomach just dropped. And then when they called that last name, you know, I was just like, oh my God. But they were doing the same thing, just like they did his dad. We're about to pick you up. We're about to pick you up, you know. But then that call from Baltimore, if somebody does not pick you up by this, you know, by the last pick, or, you know, whatever, we are going to bring you in as an undrafted free agent. So he knew that was an option if nobody picked him up. And so, you know, we kind of all, you know, started to get excited. My thing was, they haven't called my baby's name. I need to go put my arms around my kid.
Right.
You know, so I'm headed over to their dad's house, and, you know, all of a sudden I see where my sons go live. I'm driving, I'm watching them going live, and they've got the Ravens caps on. And I'm like, no, you know, like, is this happening? You know, so I pull up, you know, we all come outside just hugging. I'm just so excited. I'm like, what?
That's great.
You know, yeah. So just for him to be picked up by a team where his dad had one of the most remarkable plays in Baltimore Ravens history, returning that, returning the missed field goal.
Right.
I mean, it was
running it back.
Yeah, and running it back, you know,
yeah.
to get them to the Super Bowl, you know, like, man, you couldn't write a better story.
Right. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Keaton left college early, right? I mean, he left college early to enter in this. So this is something that he knew he wanted to do, and he's been working at. How long has he been working at, trying to, you know, saying, hey, I'm going to go to NFL too. I'm going to follow Dad's footsteps. This is what I want to do.
Well, I'll say that, when he was in high school, he expressed that, I want to get to the league. All little kids, even when they're playing like travel ball, whatever, you always hear them say, I want to play in the NFL. I want to play in the NFL. But I think that he knew he really had a good shot, I would say, in high school. And it really started to be realistic to him. I need to focus, I need to stay healthy, do whatever I need to do because that's what I want to do. And so we thought that was an attainable goal, and so we rallied behind him, all throughout this process.
Well, he's a special kid, man, and I'm expecting big things from him. I know he's got the support and stuff, but
and we appreciate you because you've been supportive, of my kids from the very beginning, and so we appreciate you for that.
Absolutely. No, it's easy to support good people. It's easy to support good. So you know what? You've had this whole football family. You have had a lot going on, and here you are, an athletic director. Yeah. Female athletic director. Not only just a athletic director. Let me rephrase that. You won the athletic director of the year multiple years in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
So recognized as the best, the toppest, the toppest,
the bestest,
the most completest, athletic director of all time there. I mean, come on. When does it end, Candace? When do you get off this podium and let somebody else join?
I'll say this. I worked hard. Even when I was applying to for this position, when I worked in education, I told them I've been prepping all my life to build a skill set to do this job, and I sold myself on that. And so it really was natural for me. It wasn't anything that I was taught in a book. It was my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was my life, from
you only get one.
Traveling, what it would take to, have a good team, having good coaches, educating coaches. I mean, when you put it all together, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about.
Preach, girl, preach.
This is what I lived. This is what I experienced. This is what I did when there was no title or no funds attached to it, And so to be able to get paid to do something that I've almost literally done all my life,
right?
It was like a dream come true. And so, yes, I won multiple athletic director of the year for the region level, and then I won on the state level. I was the first, and I didn't know this until after the fact, because you don't do these things to be recognized as the first Black or the first woman, but I was the first African American, and I was the first female to win athletic director of the year for the state of Georgia. Here's my thing.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and I got a proclamation from the city of Atlanta, and I'm proud of myself.
Candace, just say it. You're kind of a big deal.
I'll let you say it.
She's a big deal. She's a big deal. You know what? Obviously in life, we're hearing about all the highs. We're hearing about all the good things because you've done so much and stuff. Obviously, football, you had some injuries and stuff. You can't play anymore. But I notice you're refereeing now. You just don't want to give it up, huh? You're refereeing, and I see you coaching too on the sidelines as well. So
yeah. So actually, I coached linebackers at Henry County High School prior to me becoming an athletic director.
What's that like with high school kids? How they respect you as a female coach and everything else. Talk about that. Or at first they're probably like, I'm not quite sure, and then they hear you talk and like, oh, okay, she might know a thing or two.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous because that's something you don't really hear about, a woman coaching on the high school level. And I will be honest and say that I was nervous about it. But the head coach, Morris Starr, who was, we talked football all the time, and so he's just like, you really know this game. Like, I really think I want you on my staff. Like,
you're making my heart happy. See, I like that.
Yes, Coach B. Give it up.
That's right.
I was baby Coach B out there.
That's right. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so he introduced me to the guys, and it was interesting because the guys, because of the popularity of lingerie football, I think that they assumed that that's the football that I played.
Right.
And so he's like, no, put your phones away. She did not play lingerie football.
We had a few girls, though. We had a few girls that played with us that ended up moving on and doing that.
We did.
Yes, we did.
Much respect to the X League. I think that's what it's called now.
Yeah, that's right.
So what I was nervous about, I had no reason to be nervous about. The things that you taught me when I was part of the explosion, that's stuff that I remember that I was able to give to those kids. Sometimes you assume that they already know. A lot of them didn't know.
Awesome.
They didn't know gaps. They didn't know, different things that just basic stuff. So to be able to give them basic information, that I learned from you and some other coaches, it was exciting for me. It was very humbling, and they welcomed me. They appreciated me because they said, wow, she really does know the game. And I was out there because I wanted to be. And I felt like I could truly contribute. But to get that validation from the other coaches, and from the kids made it even that much more special.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm so happy to hear how you give them back and how that makes you feel and stuff.
Yeah.
We talk about every day's not sunshine and roses.
Right.
There are some storms that go through. I know you faced a few storms in your life.
I did.
You battled some, you had some cancer, breast cancer, right? You're a survivor on that. So amen to that. Yeah, that's right. And you recently even had a heart attack, right?
I
that you
did.
went through and stuff.
October 28th.
October 28th. So, you never know what's going to hit you.
Right.
How did those things affect your life today?
So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019, I think it was. And that was tough. You never want to hear those words. And so, but I took the advice of my doctor, which I had to go get another doctor. One thing I would say to any of the ladies listening, anybody, advocate for yourself. If it doesn't feel right, like your body.
That's right.
And so I just wasn't comfortable with the doctor that I was with. And, I wanted more information. So I had to trust how I was feeling. I had to advocate more for myself. And so that led me to getting another doctor who felt like, let's be a little bit more aggressive with this thing. She sat me down. She talked to me with respect. She made me feel a part of the process, educated me on what I was looking at, what my options were. And they initially found it in my left breast. And she said, this is the type of cancer that, it's not a matter of if, but when it will spread to the other side. And she wanted to be aggressive, and she advised that I had have a double mastectomy. And I said, all right, well, when's your next appointment? Let's get this thing done. Let's get it taken care of, And so I went ahead and I made the decision. I've had my kids. 2 of them I breastfed, and hey, my love life is gonna be what it is. You're gonna take me as I am, with or without these breasts.
Hey,
I'd rather be here.
That's right.
we made the decision to go ahead and for me to have the double mastectomy and the reconstruction. So that's what I went with, and I'm just happy to be sitting here and talking about it. It was tough, but I got through it. But that heart attack, Coach B.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's a different game.
That was a different ball game.
Yeah. But you know what, Candace? It just kind of goes and shows the viewers out there and listeners. I just want them to understand that just because you get knocked down and you're going through a storm doesn't mean the sun won't come up again.
Absolutely.
It depends. You got to keep fighting. And, it's when you give up and your soul gives up is when I think that's when you really kind of wave the flag and you're done.
Right.
But, as long as you want to fight, there's fight to be had.
Absolutely.
There are people that can get through it. You're living proof of that.
Right.
Fighting cancer, beating cancer, taking on, you lost a part of your body. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know what? Your soul is still your soul.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? You've done some amazing things, not just throughout your life, but, currently you're still doing amazing things every day. The heart attack, of course, I know knocks you down as well. All that's doing is telling you that, hey, be aware, be aware. There are things that are going out, and your health is important.
Very.
People don't realize we get one body, we got one life, we got one chance at this.
Right.
And it's important that you make the most of it and stuff. Our viewers out there, listeners, anything you want to say, leave them with, Candace, as we wrap this up, please.
Yeah. I would just like for the listeners to, my life is a little colorful. There's a lot going on, but I wouldn't be here without surrounding myself with good people and learning my body and listening to my body. To me, keeping yourself healthy is so important, or none of this other stuff would even be possible. And like I was telling Coach B, that heart attack was a true wake-up call for me. And I do believe that it was I do believe that stress contributed to me having that heart attack. So, I just want to tell people, get out there, live your life, do what makes you happy.
Amen.
Amen. Nothing
Amen.
like peace.
Amen. Well, there you have it, folks, and thanks for listening to Wham Bam's Podcast, the show about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Make sure you follow us and subscribe to all of our social media, especially our YouTube channel. If you have any questions that you would like to send us, go ahead and email them to whambam@whambamspodcast.com. Now remember, folks, you got one life to live, so make it epic. You got to ask yourself, if your life was a movie, would it be worth watching? Now go be extraordinary and just stop being ordinary. I can't wait to see you again next Wednesday on Wham Bam's Podcast. And as always, stay positive and keep testing negative. This is your boy Wham Bam, and I'm out.